Are you interested in selling tiny homes? The good news is you don't need to have a big warehouse or carry inventory to be someone who can sell and make money selling tiny homes. It's called being a tiny home broker. And in this video, I'm gonna break down to you the 5 types of tiny homes that you can sell. The first type of tiny home is the one that I got started in business selling. And this is modular homes. Now, modular homes are simply homes that are built off-site and they're turnkey. So for example, I'm here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I started my business doing modular shipping container homes. And I was a builder early on. And so we would build all of our container homes here in Las Vegas. We'd finish them 100%. Then we'd ship them across the nation to clients' properties where they'd be craned and installed. Now there's all kinds of modular homes that you could sell. Of course, I do container modular homes and A-frame modular homes, but you can get into modern modular homes that are more geared towards tiny homes. And there's even ones that are geared towards more large homes. Now there are a few different pros and cons to modular homes. I'm gonna start with container homes because that's a little bit of my background, and I know some of you have been following me for a while in that space. Now, shipping container homes are incredible. I'm in a shipping container right now that's being transformed into a home, and they're one of my favorite types of builds. They're very cool looking, they're very unique, and in some cases, they can be very cost effective. But the reality is with container homes, you do need to be careful because when it comes to permitting and getting a container home properly approved, legally on your property, there can be different hurdles with that. And it's for that reason that I've noticed container homes in particular are better suited for areas with lower building regulation. This is typically going to be properties that are more off-grid or in rural locations. Now, there are other types of businesses that build container homes and other modular structures that are really geared towards cities. But the way it works in modular construction is that every single state has their own approval process. So if you're working with a modular dealer or a modular builder, they're likely approved for specific areas. Now, my suggestion is if you have a certain market in mind, and we'll use California, for example, you'll want to work with a modular builder who's certified for California. This means anything that they produce in their factory is going to get a stamp or what they call an insignia on their modules that says, hey, the state has inspected these and they are approved to put in clients' properties. Now, modular homes are awesome, but sometimes going through that modular housing approval process can get a bit pricey. It's for that reason that modulars could be a good option to select, but you do want to make sure that the pricing is still competitive. If you go into the market trying to sell something that's priced too high, your conversion rate's going to be really low. And what that means is you're going to have to do this Herculean type effort just to get one sale. So whatever product you're going to be selling within the tiny home space, you want to make sure that your pricing is competitive. The second type of tiny home is considered a movable tiny home. This is also known as a tiny house on wheels. And there's all types of cities that are now creating regulation to make it easier to put movable tiny homes on your properties. We see areas in California where they're actually legalizing these to be used as ADUs. An ADU is simply an additional dwelling unit, basically a casita or a backyard guest house. Now, one of the amazing things about movable tiny homes is that they're certified as RVs, which are recreational vehicles. This means that when it comes to working with local zoning departments, it's a lot easier to navigate where you can put a movable tiny home. Typically, they can be placed in areas where RVs can be placed, or if there is specific regulation around movable tiny homes, they can be placed in those areas as well. Now, what I love about these units is that they are pretty cost efficient. The approval process for a movable tiny home is really very simple. And so once you get those approved, you're classified as an RV, and the cost to purchase one can really range significantly depending on the type you're looking to sell. There are some that are more geared towards lower end cash type purchases. And then there's other ones that are on the other end of the spectrum that are very high end and very nice. Now here's some of the pros and cons of selling tiny homes on wheels. One of the pros is typically gonna be that the cost is gonna be somewhat on the more affordable end. Because you're not going through a traditional permitting process, You don't need to go through engineered foundations typically. You don't need to go through all these crazy utilities that need to get approved. And you don't need to have the units with fire sprinklers and these additional energy requirements that would be required of a modular home. So this means that tiny homes on wheels, in terms of cost comparison to other forms of construction, are usually going to be a bit more affordable. Now, one of the challenges of tiny homes on wheels is financing. Now, there are a lot of companies that work with 21st Mortgage or other lenders to offer financing for their tiny homes, but this is one of the most important aspects when it comes to trying to sell tiny homes. If you're able to offer financing to your end clients, there's much more opportunity for you to work with people versus strictly only being able to work with people that can purchase in cash. The third type of tiny home that I see is one that is produced as a panelized kit. This could be a metal framing kit, or there's other companies out there that'll do metal framing plus some form of exterior sheathing and maybe even windows and doors installed as part of the package as well. Now, in this kind of example, you're typically working with DIYers and you're selling them more or less the parts and the pieces to produce a home. With these types of companies, they usually already have full architectural drawings made for these units, full engineered drawings for these units, and then they also supply a material package. Now, there's a few benefits to this type of construction. One of my favorites is the ease of permitting process, where modular construction is regulated state by state, and it can be difficult to get things approved. When you're doing more of a kit home, you bypass those challenges and those issues. Every single state works with wood studs, works with metal studs, and as long as you have an engineer stamp for that particular state, then the panelized kit can be used in your area. This means that you don't just need to focus on sales in your region, but now you can actually have a nationwide reach selling your panelized or kit tiny homes. The fourth one is one of the most exciting opportunities that's around today. And it's geared around major cities that are having issues with affordable housing. There's a number of cities that are overpopulated, overcrowded, housing prices have skyrocketed, and as a result, they've lowered their regulation around smaller housing. In particular, around a category that I mentioned earlier called ADUs. This means additional dwelling unit, and these are units that can actually go in your backyard and be additional rentals. There's actually parts of the country that won't allow you to just add one, but they'll actually allow you to add multiple ADUs onto your property. I think about California, where there's a massive housing crisis, cost of living is insane, and they need more homes. In that area, they've allowed you to do a variety of ADUs on your property. So you can have a detached garage that gets converted into an ADU. You can have an ADU added to your home, and then you can have an additional detached ADU on your property. In some areas, you can have 4 additional rentals on what was previously just your single family home. And for people with multifamily zoning or multifamily properties, in some areas, they'll allow you to match. However many units you have, you can basically double it. So if you have a 4-plex on that property, you may have the potential to make it an 8-plex. So very exciting stuff in the ADU space. If you're in any of these areas, one of the best approaches that I have seen is partnering with a local general contractor, someone who can focus on building your ADUs for you. Your role in the sales process ends up being selling these models that contractor can build. I see that as a great relationship. Now, I like to say, as someone who's selling stuff, you're only as strong as your builder. So if your builder fails, that is gonna affect you. And it's for that reason that you wanna be smart and you need to select a really good, really reliable builder. But once you have that in place, the sky truly is the limit. You can focus on marketing and selling these ADUs, and that partner of yours who's the GC will focus on building them. Number 5 is one of the most exciting opportunities and probably the one for the most profit potential. And it is getting into the small housing space, but more specifically in the area of multi-family housing. I'm based in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we have just got a project approved in downtown Las Vegas that I thought for sure was gonna be denied. It's for a multi-family project. It's on a 1/4 acre. It's actually about 0.27 acres, and they just approved us to put 22 small homes on it. And what that means is the way we're doing these is they're little 2-story units where it's a 300 square foot floor plan on the bottom and a 300 square foot floor plan on the top. Each of them are individual rentals. Now, that means we have 11 structures on this property with a total of 22 doors. This is an investor's dream, to be able to have that many doors on a property and to not have to build units that are 1,000 square feet or 1,500 square feet per door, but they're only 300 square feet per door. They truly are tiny spaces. Our design for these was to make them studios. So they're open floor plans, full bathroom, full kitchen, really a bedroom/living room space, and then your little entry area with a little closet space. So very simple units. They're gonna be serving 2 great purposes. They're gonna be providing affordable housing for people here in Vegas, and then also for the investor, it's done in such a way where he's still gonna make a great return. So if you can get involved in that space and help investors, and you partner with a local builder who can produce these units, you can function ultimately as the middle person, creating awareness to these investors, partnering them with your builder, and you will reap the rewards of making those connections. Now, there are a lot of questions that may be coming to your mind right now about all the nuances of how to do this. And it's for that reason that I put together a free ebook for you. It is the Tiny Home Broker Blueprint. And this book is gonna walk you through step by step on how to officially launch your tiny home broker business. The good news is this book is completely free. I've linked it in the description below. So I encourage you to download that, go through it. It's really gonna give you the guardrails to help you take further steps forward to navigate whether you truly should start your tiny home broker business and the best way to do so. Well, I really enjoyed hanging with you today. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.